Regarding retro gaming goodness associated with the largest country in South America, the first company that springs to mind is likely Sega. After all, with the help of a local company tec-toy, variants of the Sega Mega Drive and Master System continue to sell well up until this very day. On the other hand, Nintendo has had a far more challenging time cracking such a market, with them at points even choosing to withdraw from the country entirely. In September 2020, though, all of this would change, with Nintendo of America delighting fans by finally announcing that they would release the Switch in the region. You could say it was finally time for Mario to go to Brazil, which is the subject of this very video. After many years of people asking the rotund mustachioed plumber to come to Brazil, he finally arrived, and that arrival is perhaps the inspiration behind one of the coolest ROM hacks released in 2022. That's right, today we're going to look at one of the most interesting Super Mario World ROM hacks, an experience set in a land famous for its world-class footballers, beautiful women, perky butts, and rainforests. So, with all of this said, I am Lady Decade, and this is Mario Goes to Brazil. Once upon a time there was an anthill. It was truly beautiful. The ants worked all day long tirelessly, but one day winter came. They weren't prepared. The Queen ordered her troops to gather resources, but it was to no avail. Because I hid them all. Because I hate ants. Those were the sage words of Marcus Mutter, the creator behind the madness that is Mario Goes to Brazil. He describes his game as a short but very sweet hack with awesome graphics, fantastic music, and tough as nails gameplay. And my god, it can be difficult at times, but more of that later. Marcos describes his hack as allowing Mario to visit iconic locations from Brazil, fight an evil boss on each stage, and defeat King Koopa's army once and for all. So let's go from the top and talk about everything that can be experienced in this one. Upon powering Mario Goes to Brazil on, we get this nice little title screen featuring the Brazilian flag. Moving past this point, we get a screen featuring Mario in a rocket flying through space with the text stating, "Mario, the galaxy needs your help. Your mission is to neutralize Koopa's army and bring peace to Brazil." But this raises the question, why was Mario in a rocket ship if he's in a game that's about Brazil? Firstly, this could be a reference to the Mario Galaxy video games, or rather more likely, a nod towards the Brazilian Space Agency, which has the most advanced space program in Latin America, with significant resources to launch vehicles and manufacture satellites. So, go Brazil!
Fall for you, Glen Coco! You go, Glen Coco!
The Mario World map screen is fittingly replaced with a map of Brazil, with each game stage taking place in a different well-known Brazilian geographical location. The action starts at the Copacabana in Rio de Janeiro. Not to be confused with the hottest spot north of Havana, where music and passion were always the fashion, championed by Barry Manilow. This Copacabana is famed for its 4-kilometre-long Balneario beach, which very well seems to be where the first stage in Mario Goes to Brazil takes place. Speaking of the stage itself, you may notice that the game instantly from the off features a high level of difficulty, meaning that this gameplay experience is unlikely suitable for more casual Super Mario players. I cannot begin to tell you how many times I died while playing this at points frustratingly difficult video game, which is all made the more infuriating by the inclusion of the Castlevania death sound every time you lose a life. Anyway, if you can navigate the many controller throwing inducing obstacles such as bullet bills coming from all directions, coconuts falling from trees, and piranha plants shooting fireballs amongst many other death-causing hazards, well, in that case you may still end up being stopped by having to master other unfamiliar mechanics such as controlling Mario as you hold onto power lines and straddle along them, jumping when necessary to avoid even more projectiles. Gets past these nightmarish foes, and then it's onto a boss fight against Mouser. Speaking of Mouser, did you know that is really from Super Mario Bros. 2, which is also known as Doki Doki Panic. Like much of the game, this battle against Mouser can be very challenging, to say the least. The bob-bombs he chucks at you are highly volatile and explode very quickly. Timing the throws perfectly to give him a taste of his own medicine can be tricky, and it can take many attempts to get 3 accurate shots lined up. Once this rotten rodent has been exterminated, it's off to the next stage, which takes place in Liade, Sao Paulo. Being a more obscure location for a more global audience, hitting a hints and tips block gives you more information about the area. Liade is home to the world's largest ethnic Japanese community outside Japan, so the area is a mini Japan located in South America. Featuring music from what I believe is the Gamberi Goemon series, the stage requires quick reflexes and a lot of rinse and repeat actions to learn the level. With this one, action is obscured to just 1 screen at a time, meaning that the stage is next to impossible to beat unless you know what is ahead. Liade is capped off with a battle against a Magic Koopa. A Magic Koopa who, I must add, needs to be stomped on 8 times to defeat. To make this all the more tricky, this must be achieved on ice, further emphasising the difficulty of this experience. Beating the first 2 stages allows players to save the game between levels at any point. A nice additional Easter egg here too is the inclusion of Totaka's song, a melody hidden within many official Nintendo titles. Have a quick listen. Stage 3 occurs in Pampa, South America's fertile low grasslands. Mario must proceed with caution throughout this area, with the stage being a case of slow and steady, often winning the race. Apples falling from trees must carefully be avoided, along with giant, fast-moving spiders that Mario must often run underneath. The rain adds to the area's overall ambience, with the stage concluding with an exciting boss fight against a giant Mario Mask Koopa. This boss can turn into 4 different forms, each using various abilities to try and crash Mario's Brazilian party. Stage 4 moves Mario to the Atlantic Forest. The second largest rainforest on the planet was the first environment the Portuguese colonists encountered over 500 years ago. But what is it like for Mario's first visit? In a remarkable twist, it is stylistically modelled off of the look of the jungle zone found in the Sega Master System version of Sonic the Hedgehog. In fact, it even features a 16-bit remix of the music found in that zone too. This is a superb nod, especially considering how synonymous the Master System has become with this region. The stage mixes up the play with the inclusion of Mario needing to progress vertically up the stage rather than moving horizontally to the right for a change. You may note that this game section feels much more manageable than everything you would have experienced thus far, but don't get too comfortable as is about to hit the fan again. Those with a keen eye would have likely noticed a keyhole at the beginning of this level. This is because once Mario has ascended to the top of the stage, he must retrieve the key and descend all the way back down to the bottom of the stage again. This is where the real challenge occurs, as grabbing the key awakens this terrifying golden flying Spiny. This gameplay mechanic has been pinched straight from Super Mario Bros. 2, emulating the sections whereby you grab a key and get chased by a Phantos mask. A cool difference is, though, if you drop the key in Super Mario Bros. 2, the Phantos will retreat. However, this is not the case with the Spiny in this game. Instead, Mario is faced with a relentless assault until he reaches the very bottom of the stage. However, there is little respite, as this level doesn't have a boss to take down. Oh yeah, because that makes all the difference, doesn't it? This game is like a heart attack at points. Stage 5 moves the gameplay to Pantano, a natural region encompassing the world's largest tropical wetland area and flooded grasslands. As usual with this game, the stage can be incredibly challenging. We have Lakitus relentlessly throwing Spinies in all directions as Mario must jump from bubble to bubble, often having to avoid falling into the flooded grasslands below, which function as bottomless pits. The addition of chain chomps and munchers adds to the frustration that occurs when trying to learn the layout of this stage well. It is tough working out the correct timings to make it safely across the pits without being killed by the coming Spinies. Traverse through this natural region and a boss fight awaits against one of the Koopalings. You'll recognise this boss fight if you are a seasoned Super Mario World player. Still, it has been made all the more challenging with the introduction of both spikes on the walls and ceiling, along with iced pipes, making what Mario is standing on very slippery.
Brazil seems like a pretty terrifying place.
You are going to Brazil.
Stage 6 sees Mario reach Goyena, the capital city and largest city of the Brazilian state of Goiás. This city is an important economic hub of the region and is considered a strategic centre for industry, medicine, fashion and agriculture. The gameplay here varies from other stages as it plays much like the children's game The Floor is Lava, as the ground below our portly plumber is electrified. The power lines at the top of the stage are also live to add to the challenge, giving Mario limited space to maneuver if he wants to avoid being fried. As one would likely imagine, the stage can cause a great deal of frustration and lead to plenty of controller throwing moments. Fortunately, the boss isn't too challenging, with a reasonable simple encounter against the Big Boo from Super Mario World proving relatively easy compared to most of this terrifying game. Mario is then off to Itapetinga for his next platforming romp across Brazil. The municipality is characterised by livestock, producing 160,000 litres of cow's milk and has about 95,000 head of cattle, according to the 2006 agricultural census. Still, in this instance, Mario must run across the fields, avoiding obstacles such as hammer bros and munchers, while simultaneously avoiding the one-up mushrooms being dangled from a fishing rod by a pokey in the clouds above. There is always so much going on here to cause trouble for the player. After some skilled platforming, a boss fight takes place against Foresna, with the additional challenge of the spinning line of deadly fireballs getting in the way of their defeat. The only strategy here is to take them out as swiftly as possible. We then move to João Pessoa, located on the right bank of the Paraíba do Norte River. Featuring an arrangement of the track from Super Mario Kart's Koopa Troopa Beach, like the rest of the game, beating the stage can prove tricky. If I were IGN, I would likely complain here and give the area just 4 out of 10 too much water. But at least it makes a difference from the rest of the game. The water, fish and assortment of projectiles make this area nightmarish at times, as there is nothing more stressful than slowly trudging through water, avoiding fast-moving creatures and objects.
It's all pretty anxiety-inducing.
Making it to the end of the area earns Mario a showdown against Claw Grip, the boss opponent from World 5 of Doki 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 Panic. Unlike the Famicom Classic though, this member of the Crab People must be defeated underwater, changing the dynamic of the fight to what you may have experienced before. Next, Mario moves to Caatinga. The Caatinga is a xeric shrubland and a thorn forest which consists primarily of small thorny trees that shed their leaves seasonally. Interestingly, the Caatinga is the only exclusively Brazilian biome, which means that a large part of its biological heritage cannot be found anywhere else on the planet. As for the gameplay on display here, Mario must first progress through this barren area from one side to the other, only to pick up a P-switch which must be carried back to the beginning of the stage. Many of the game's familiar enemies and obstacles resurface here, however some new challenges are also thrown in for extra measures, such as these pokies, which can throw their own body parts. After activating the P-switch and going down the pipe at the end of the level, Mario must face off against a Koopaling before entering the game's latter stages. The next level attempts to mix up play by offering a challenge whereby gamers must collect every red coin littered around the stage. This area, known as Aroê Jari, meaning soul shelter, is the largest sandstone cavern in Brazil. It is 1,550 meters long, extremely flat, and has numerous waterfalls. The stage is atmospheric, likely due to the fantastic music pitched straight from the tremendous Terranigma. You know, that underworld music.
Sensational.
After finding all of the red coins, a boss fight occurs against Ludwig von Cooper, which differs from the encounter against him in Super Mario World, as that pesky flying golden spiny is back to cause us more grief. Thankfully, this fight is not as annoying as when we first encountered this flying nuisance back in the rainforest. Fortunately, there is no tricky platforming involved this time. Much like the large sandstone cavern, the boss fight provides a reasonably straightforward challenge compared to many other parts of this tough-as-nails game. A stage that must be beaten on Mario's Brazilian trip culminates in the Amazon rainforest, where Mario must finally take on Bowser. The road to his keep is atmospheric in itself, partly due to the great use of music that can be found in the all-time great known as Chrono Trigger. Once again, compared to much of the brutality in this game, the boss fight against Bowser is relatively tame and involves Mario retrieving flashing blocks that must be thrown at him several times. While Bowser himself is a relatively easy final battle, defeating him feels highly satisfying, as it instantly makes you reflect on some of the absurd challenges that need to be overcome to get this far into the game in the first place. Before leaving Brazil altogether, Mario heads to Acre. Due to its geographical location, one of Acre's nicknames is the End of Brazil, making the area the perfect fit for the end of Mario's Brazilian adventure. Mario speaks to a dinosaur before re-entering his rocket ship and then shooting into space. The end credits feature a remix of one of the Rainbow Road themes from the Mario Kart series. This is a challenging game, which is only further compounded by the fact that most of Mario's trademark abilities that can be taken advantage of in Super Mario World are missing. For example, Mario has lost his spin jump for this endeavour, and power-ups are few and far between. In fact, the only available ones are mushrooms so that Mario can grow in size, and feathers. However, feathers are nowhere near as applicable as usual, as there is no room to take to the skies, and Mario's cape spinning attack has been removed. Mario Goes to Brazil offers a formidable challenge that is certainly not for the faint of heart, but manages to offer up a lot of fun for those who are experienced with Super Mario World and looking for something more challenging. The game has an educational element, as all of the stages are based on real-life locations, as illustrated throughout today's upload. Not that small, wimpy kids would learn much from this. They wouldn't get past the first stage. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe and then watch these other Brazil videos that I made recently. Peace.